Good evening. I'm Lee Bailey, Chair of the Northampton Cable Advisory Board, or the CAB. This is our annual public meeting for the purpose of reviewing Comcast's performance as the city cable licensee, as well as discussing the performance of NCTV, our PEG community access station. This hearing is an opportunity for the public to voice opinions and offer suggestions. In addition, Al Williams, Executive Director of NCTV, will present a summary of his annual report on the studio's activities, budgets, and future programs. So, before we start, I'd like to introduce our board members who are here tonight, starting over here with Clodagh Parker and Robin Coolbreth and Jim McKeever, who have all been active on one for a long time, or a very long time, actually. Yeah. How many years? Yeah, 10 years? 10 years, yeah. Jim has been even involved longer than that.
Quitting to work for Comcast.
20, 25 years.
So hire me back, I'm here.
And we'd also like to welcome Terry Masterson, who was just appointed Economic Development Coordinator and will serve as our liaison with the Mayor's office. You will be playing an important role, just wait and see, important role in the upcoming contract renewal and negotiations. Our contract with Comcast expires in 2016, and in the preceding 2 years, our board is required to conduct a series of public hearings on public access, and most importantly, prepare a report to the mayor, who is responsible for renegotiating a new contract with Comcast or other providers. In light of that, our board, and one of the suggestions we should, as we go into our meeting, is that we should probably add the word again, ascertainment. For a long time, we were the Community Access and Ascertainment Board. And so Cable Advisory and Ascertainment Board, CAAB, as part of the preparation for the contract renewal process. And speaking of Comcast, I'd also like to introduce Aaron Saunders, Comcast's new representative, replacing Steve Fitzgibbons. Aaron is here to answer any questions about Comcast policies, and welcome, Aaron. And so tonight's agenda, which is number 1, to discuss the performance of Comcast and NCTV, and if there are any public comments, of which I see no public. So, anybody on the board have any comments? No? So let's move right on to the second thing on the agenda, which is Al's report of the 2012 annual report. Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Lee. We have presenting this annual report today. There are hard copies here for anyone who doesn't have them in the audience right now. There are also copies that are available on our website. I believe those are up on our site. If they're not up on our site yet, they will be by tomorrow morning. I know that they're in prep right now. So I'm just going to go briefly over this annual report document, which is somewhat lengthy. You'll notice as well, this is something we reported on our own annual meeting at NCTV, which we recently held. Copies of that annual meeting are available online right now, so if you're interested in seeing that presentation, you'll see something similar tonight, but it is available online through our web portal. A couple of key points from the past year for NCTV. It's been 5 years since our grand opening, and we have acquired our 3rd channel from Comcast. That is a very large accomplishment for us. It was one of our goals starting 5 years ago, and we had to meet certain contractual language that the city had negotiated in order to acquire that 3rd channel. That channel went live a number of months ago. One of our key points in the next year is going to be programming out that channel and sort of re-examining just the way we distribute programming across all 3 channels instead of 2 now. We also launched Paradise City Press this year. Paradise City Press is a new citizen journalism initiative that is a project of Northampton Community Television, in which we train community members for print on web, for video production, for photojournalism, for sourcing sound, audio, to tell stories that are happening in the community, whether that's news or simply stories reflecting their lives and the lives of the community. That's been live since May, and we've been pleased so far with the results of participation. This year, we're also honored by the Alliance for Community Media for Best Website in the United States for a Professional Community Media Center. We became one of 23 national partners in beta testing as a partner with Mozilla and other organizations from San Francisco and New York and Philadelphia and Atlanta to test their new software, which is called Popcorn. It's cloud-based multimedia generating tools for that's targeted for youth. We ran a youth program around it. It will go into its version 1.0 version for the public this January or February. We continue to sort of examine utilizing that in conjunction with youth in the community moving forward. One of the innovations this year that we sort of embraced is we're moving towards heavy utilization and training in DSLR technology, HDSLR technology. This is camera tech that is not only affordable, but also produces extremely high quality results in terms of programming. We've seen a whole quantum leap in terms of the kind of quality of image we can produce and what we can train producers in terms of access or having as resources. We've developed curriculum for Northampton High School. This is something that's an ongoing relationship with the high school. We're always sort of trying to redevelop and re-engage high school students in Northampton High School where we're located. This year we have just completed, or are sort of, I guess, at the last week of completing intensive 2-week chunks of curriculum where we take 6 to 8 students and teach them intensive studio production skills, and at the end of that 2-week period they produce a television show from scratch. That means they script it and they direct it and they put it together and do post-production on it as well. We responded to a call for comments by the FCC regarding the state of community media in the United States, and our comments were published in Communications Daily, which is a national trade magazine for the communications industry. We've seen a continued dramatic rise in our social network. We host 3 different Facebook pages presently. We have approximately 908 likes across those Facebook pages, which is a pretty large amount for an organization our size, and also for a community media center. You'll see there are a number of stats here regarding our Twitter followers, etc. We get about 900 views a week on YouTube, and we also get about 8,000 hits a day on our website. Okay, so we're doing very well in new media aspects of the station. We see it as a key part of our strategy, as any business strategy moving forward. I served as vice chair of the National Board of the Alliance for Community Media. My term just recently ended, but that was quite an honor and has tied us to policy work across the country pretty intimately. In partnership with Forbes Library, we ran a grant-funded youth filmmaking curriculum. That was 4 weeks, over 4 weeks in the summer on Saturdays, for most of the day on Saturday, in which we took 2 groups of youth in groups of 10, 2 groups of 10, and had them create their own films from scratch. That was in a partnership with a grant with Forbes. We had feature articles published in the Valley Advocate, Premier Magazine, and the Hampshire Gazette about the station. We began coverage of Northampton Planning Board meetings, which was something that we have through the years heard feedback on from the public in general, that in expanding our municipal coverage, Planning Board is what they wanted to see. So we've begun shooting Planning Board meetings on a regular basis. We hosted 30 interns over the course of the year, including high school and college students from throughout the 5 college systems: Springfield College, Westfield State, Fitchburg State, and the New England Institute of Art, who specifically recommended us as one of the leading stations in Western Massachusetts to their student. We were host to a student partnership through Pioneer Valley Performing Arts School in their interim PIDEA program. We became the first ever online curator for the 5 College Film Festival and went on to curate films from the advanced documentary class through 5 College system. The Youth Film Festival, which is a regional youth film festival based in Northampton, and the Hampshire County Rail Trails Video Contest. Basically, the philosophy behind this is we're trying to reach out to makers and filmmakers in the community and to welcome them through our doors. We met with a number of times with representatives of the Berkshire Film Commission, with Wired West, with Hidden Tech, and with the Mass Broadband Institute. We've covered their events and also met with representatives of all those organizations in branching out and understanding the larger policies that sort of connect this station to to the rest of the world. We reproduced the Northampton High School accreditation video that they provided to NEASC. We've been exploring collaborative relationships with WXOJ, which is Valley Free Radio, the local low-power FM station, and other community media centers in the area, particularly Amherst and Greenfield. We partnered with Free Press to produce a piece with Joe Torres, who's a media policy expert who recently published News for All the People, the epic story of race in the American media. And the last time you saw our facility was a year ago, you'll see that we've changed the structure quite a bit. We have created a community editing space. Our demand was so great for use of space that we had to sort of rearrange the facility in order to accommodate the amount of traffic we've had. So those are general highlights from throughout the year. If you flip through this document, one of the key numbers that I would highlight, which would be on the inside of the second sheet here, is it's days of producer equipment use. And we break out equipment use throughout the year. We've been doing this as part of our annual reporting process to the CAB for the last 5 years. And you'll see a lot of historical numbers there. In 2008, we had 155 days of producer use. So that you understand what that means one camera checkout is a day of equipment producer use. One utilization of the studio is a day of producer equipment use. So you'll see from 155 days in 2008, we've increased every year to last year, which we were at 598 days. That number increased to 1,817 days of use this year. Okay, so we almost tripled our traffic through the facility in the last year. We like to think of this as we're gaining traction, hitting critical mass. We continue to see constant use of the facility. If you were in here today, every edit suite was in use in the space. This space was being used concurrently while that was happening for production meetings, and there were cameras out. So we are operating, close to capacity in a lot of regards. And we make our purchasing decisions based on that moving forward, and we hope to continue to try to accommodate that kind of traffic. The rest of the document is a lot of details. You'll see a breakout of all the programming that has been produced both through utilization of this facility and also programming that people have brought in, meaning it may be programming that is produced elsewhere, but a community member wants to see it on air as a Northampton resident and therefore goes on air here at Northampton Community TV. You will see a sheet that's full of various kinds of feedback regarding the station from the community that we gather from emails, from Facebook posts, from telephone calls, et cetera, et cetera. So we try to lump as much of that into this document as we can. A couple of points on feedback just in terms of areas for improvement that we've identified through the responses we've gotten from the community in general. There are regularly sustained requests by the community to close caption NCTV, particularly for government programming. In the past, it's been difficult for us to do because there's a cost associated with that, which is not insignificant. We're currently undergoing another study to sort of ascertain the possibility of doing that moving forward. And while the FCC requires television stations to caption their programming, we fall under what's called it's a financial hardship exclusion. Okay, so while we're not in FCC violation with anything we're doing, it's still a goal of ours to try to get that captioning happening at some point. There's a need to increase our efficiency in distribution of government coverage. This is a critique I think is born out of success. People simply want us to turn around our government meetings faster and faster, essentially instantly. So we're exploring ways to do that with technology. There have been times when the website could be updated somewhat quicker than it has been, and again, I think that sort of feedback that we're receiving is because we do generate a lot of web traffic. So when we have mistakes on our website, we hear about them. There's a need for us to be more rigorous in the way we manage interns. We had such a huge increase in intern traffic this year that it was somewhat overwhelming, and so we just want to explore better ways to be more efficient in the utilization of those interns. And there are continuous requests from individuals and organizations who want an event covered or production created, but who themselves do not have the time or interest in doing so. This is just a common feedback that access centers get. Half of the people I meet certainly have ideas for a great television show, which we share a lot of great ideas for television shows, but there's only so much staff time. So we continue to try to conduct outreach and bring people into the facility to make those productions happen as well as we can. Moving forward, you'll see a list of staffing and intern changes. We have 2 new staff members this year. If you're in the room, Jennifer Ramsey is our media resources coordinator. She's operating the camera. Dave Newland is our production coordinator. He's sitting in the control room now. They're both new to the station this year. Jeremy Wellen is not here tonight. He's our project coordinator. And the staff is absolutely exceptional. Among the finest staff, if not the best staff I've ever worked with in my years in this industry. So we're in good hands, and I think you'll find a lot of comments about staff, or if you talk to people who come through the doors, they have a lot of really great things to say about the people we have working here right now. Moving forward from that, you see our annual plan, and just to try to give you a couple of highlights of what our plans are for the next year. One is the refinement of Paradise City Press. A lot of our traffic generated on the site so far has been cord in that group of interns we've been able to resource out. And so we're only 6 months into the project, and we're hoping to just get more critical mass, more traction with that program, and get more community members generating that content. On Monday we had a class, another citizen journalism class, and put more cameras in the hands of producers to that end. Establishing the identity of the third channel. This is something I mentioned earlier. We're going to start building out marketing and creating an identity for our new channel, which is Channel 23 on Comcast cable television in Northampton. Examining collaborations with other public media entities and community makers. Our vision of ourselves is not only as a PEG center, but more broadly that language is as a community media center moving forward. And that means engaging in partnerships with other community media centers, understanding the shifting identity of television in terms of what that means. Television is now really multimedia. It's multifaceted, it's interactive, it's evolving. And so we want to make sure that we're continuing to partner with organizations that have new visions and are also doing work that's related to the work that we do. And just to sort of further speak to that, our goal really is to provide resources to the community, both in terms of those physical resources and this physical space, but also to fluency in creating and crafting message. So, from our vision, handing someone a camera and showing them the on button is not doing our work correctly. It's allowing people to understand how to craft whatever message it is they're trying to send, and to that end, that also involves teaching media literacy, digital literacy, and engaging those sorts of issues. At some point, the FCC is going to relook at the Telecommunications Act, and the work that we want to be doing when they do that is to be doing next generation community media work, so that when that entity looks across the land, we're identified as a resource that is valuable in doing that, and valuable to the community, most importantly. Another goal this year is to revisit our rules and policies. As a 5-year-old organization, you learn some things over that 5-year period that you perhaps did not anticipate at the beginning in terms of making that document very ergonomic, work very well. We just need to do some sort of reevaluation of that and touch up any loose ends and make it more readable and make sure that it accounts for any sort of situations that we did not envision 5 years ago. Begin preparing for contract negotiation. This is something that involves CAB Board, Northampton Community Television, Comcast, and the city in general. In terms of looking out towards that 2016 end date and starting to prepare now. We'd rather be out in front of it a couple years than to sort of be scrambling at the last moment. Information management in the station. Because we've had such a tremendous increase in traffic throughout the facility, it's put a little bit of burden on the way we've managed our databases. So we need to look at efficiencies in terms of our databases and make sure that they're running smoothly enough and with as little resource investment from us while being comprehensive enough to track everything that we're doing. So we're going to look at our information management systems this year as well. And then we have ongoing yearly goals that don't change very much. They just It's expanded outreach into the community, creating a wider and fuller network of producers and partners, increasing access to our facility in terms of physical limitations and fairness and policy. We're looking at, one comment we had at our annual meeting was an expansion of hours. This is a comment we get, I think, in some form every year, and we've continued to expand those hours, and we will look again at further expanding those hours and refining them so they reflect more accurately the actual usage of the station. You'll see at the end of that equipment purchases, capital purchases in that document, also a balance sheet, which is true as of November 27th, 2012, and also a P&L also updated till that date. We will continue to refine these balance sheets. So what you'll see is shortly after the end of 2012, we'll publish an updated version of the annual report, which will have a completed P&L that is reconciled fully for the entire year, and a balance sheet as well. So this is sort of the snapshot. Our fiscal year runs January to December, and so you'll see some numbers here. One thing you don't see in here, which is a significant number, is depreciation, which we take on the 31st of every year. So you'll see a bit more black there than you should be able to anticipate by the end of the year. And in summary, that's our report. Welcome.
Does anybody on the board or in the audience have questions for Al? I have one.
Yes.
And that's part of our mandate, which is part of our responsibility is to, and I will read this, that comes straight out of the contract, to look at signal quality, technology upgrades, and customer service complaint resolutions. And as far as I know, in the city, there was only one complaint, customer complaint all year long regarding Comcast. What about for you?
We actually, we generate a trouble report every year, which is related to, so if we have signal quality issues regarding to distribution of Northampton Community Television over the Comcast network, we maintain records of those. We actually had our first trouble report incident last week. We've had a very, very clean year from the perspective of how we've been operating over the Comcast network. So we've had very good signal quality issues, or very, very few signal quality issues whatsoever from our perspective. So it's been this is the first year really that's occurred. Yeah.
What was that issue?
The issue was it was a modulator issue. Boy, Jen, do you even? We had our first call come in because you know what it was? It was a cable box issue.
Okay.
It was actually a cable box issue.
Yeah.
So in fact, that was related not even towards the municipal side. It was related to business side, where we're having some strange. It was a component inside one of our boxes. Because we take some of that return signal. This may be great to some people, but we take some of that return signal and we redistribute it. Like for when we do some streaming, sometimes we're sourcing our own return signal because the way the head end is designed, we're not the source of the head end.
Right.
So we sometimes have to sort of like loop things around.
Yeah.
So that cable box was affecting some of our distribution,
Right.
but the problem was in business side, not municipal side.
Yeah, so the handshake between your stuff and where it meets the pole or where the modulator is meeting.
Has been fine.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're moving to our next agenda item, which is appointment of a new board chair. I am, after almost 10 years, retiring. It's been wonderful working with you guys. And so the consensus has been that we would like our board here, who's present tonight, would like to formally nominate Clodagh as our new chair. And so I'd like to make a motion. That was fast.
You didn't say Jim, so second.
Yeah. Approved, right? Great, thank you. A bit, I don't think we could have anybody more qualified because Clodagh has been on the NCTV board since its inception, and she was our representative, the cable the CAB's representative, oh, that's, you can throw it away. The cable's representative to the board. So it means that she's been really, and long before, when we were early in the process of moving, you've been with our board for a while at least, and we can figure out a date for the next one. So any other questions, anything else that we need to discuss tonight you can think of? Well, thank you all for attending, and nice to see everyone. Thank you, Al, for your presentation, and thank you for this amazing studio that we have now. Terrific. Thank you.